I'd love for you to tell us, a little bit more about you and the project, the business project that we worked on. That would be great.
Sure. So I'm a musician, I'm a teacher, and I have this new business where I help hidden musicians, reluctant musicians, to write and release their first album. So that is the project that we worked on together over the last last 12 weeks. Hard to believe.
Yeah, it was fun. So as a sneak peek, what was the biggest light bulb moment, the biggest aha moment throughout the 12 weeks?
So there was a bunch.
All right.
I think there was a bunch, but I think one of the things was, and I think you said it like pretty early on, and it's something that I've always believed in, but the way you said it, I thought was like so. It was so perfect and so clear, and that's that the long way is the shortcut. And I think once I heard that, and again, I feel like I've been practicing that my whole life, but just hearing it that way, I think it really put me in like a good place. And over the course of these 12 weeks, I think with that in mind, I was able to create this really good balance where I wasn't overworking. I wasn't feeling guilty about taking time away from working on the project if I had to. And I really created a life around building this new business, which I think was really important for me personally. I think another big takeaway for me was to really concentrate on things that I was excited about and things that I felt would be most effective, right? As opposed to spreading myself super thin, trying to do a million different things to see what would stick, but to really like dive into one or two things and to give them a chance. And I think a lot of like entrepreneurs, and myself included, sometimes we don't give things a chance. And so I think that was also really eye-opening as well.
I really like how you phrase that about the kind of spray and pray approach, that you don't give things a chance and you kind of spread yourself so thin because you don't believe in your strategy. Maybe you don't believe in, in yourself as an entrepreneur. So it's so important to just knowing what you want, focusing on a few things and actually going, really committing so that you can test and understand whether they work or not. And if not, can you learn something instead of just going for another random tactic? So
exactly, 100%.
Yeah. So when we started, why did you start? Why were you thinking about a coach? And then, why did you decide to start with me? What was, the beginning?
Yeah. So I have, a little bit of context. I had this overall business since last fall. So it wasn't like I was going into all of it completely blind. I had some context. I had worked with a few different clients. But what I was having trouble with was like really communicating what it is that I did. I felt like I was kind of just this general coach for musicians, but that seemed like very vague to me. And if it seemed vague to me, like I could only imagine that it would also seem vague to, my audience and to the people that I was trying to serve. And so when I came to you, I think the first thing I really wanted to do was hone in on who my audience was, who my ideal client was, and specifically how I could help those people and communicate my message. So I think we were able to do that maybe within the first couple weeks. And once we had really like niched down, that's when I think things really started to happen for me, because things were no longer vague. I was able to communicate my message. And then over the course of the 12 weeks, and, even now and beyond, was able to create content around serving this particular person. So that was the main thing, was really finding out who I wanted to serve.
And was that the main obstacle that kind of kept you, maybe not stuck, but slowed you down in your progress when you had this idea for this business?
Absolutely, because I think if it's kind of the most important piece, I feel like, right? Like,
Yeah,
if you don't know who you're serving, you don't really have a business. You just
yeah.
have a general idea. Um, so yeah, like just figuring that out, it was just this like this liberating feeling of like, oh, now I can just do so much because I have that clarity.
Yeah, and I think that in a way we go back to the idea of focus that you talked about earlier. That in the beginning, especially as an entrepreneur, starting a new business, you don't want to let go of opportunity, and so it feels like I want to keep every door open. But by doing that, you don't open any, and you don't really resonate with anyone. But when we niche down and we made that very clear, then it was clear for you to to speak to new leads, where to find them, but also how do I create content? Why do I create content? And what resonates with other people? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, and I'm certainly one of these people, I think there's this belief that like the more people you can help, the more opportunities there will be. And like I've I've just learned that that is just so completely not true.
Mm,
Um, if you claim to be a master of everything, you're actually a master of nothing, right? Or whatever that quote is.
mm,
So for me, like niching down it was so liberating and so cool. Um, and it really put me in this like zone of genius where I was like, wow, like I kind of feel like I'm the only person doing this, and I sort of
mm.
feel like I'm the best. And even if there are others, like honestly, I feel like, and maybe I'm coming across as overconfident, but like I kind of feel like I'm the best person for the job.
Mm.
So to create that zone is a really cool and amazing thing.
And one thing that I want to stress as well is that you came to niching down by by thinking about some of your experience, but also by having conversations with your leads and the people that you want to work with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, that first album experience was so powerful back when it happened. Um, so the idea of being able to bring someone through that and to feel that excitement and I don't know other life changing components that come with releasing that first album, that was obviously something that was very exciting to me. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
awesome to discover that.
Hmm. Okay, so one thing I want to ask you is what were the biggest results or transformations that you got out of the 12 weeks? So, from the start to now, what are some of the things that you got and that, you feel that maybe will stay with you or some important milestones?
Yeah. So the first thing is coming up with um, systems for lead generation, right?
Mm,
And there was obviously a bit of experimentation and still is some experimentation, but thinking about like a way where I could just be constantly generating leads, right? Whether that be, going on podcasts, which is something that I did, which I'll speak about in a second, or individual outreach and having conversations with potential clients, right? So just like understanding and grasping that concept of like, and it seems obvious, but sometimes it's not. Like just grasping the concept of like, okay, I need systems in place so that the wheels are constantly moving, right? So that was a huge takeaway, and it allowed me to start to generate leads like fairly consistently, and get that generator running, right? The other major thing was going on podcasts for the first time as a guest, um, and whether that generate whether or not that would generate leads was uh, I don't want to say secondary, but was I would say not even the most important thing for me. It was definitely a personal goal. Speaking is something that I feel like I could use work on. I consider myself to be more of a writer. So to be able to practice and refine that skill of speaking by going on these podcasts was something that was really important for me because it allowed me to step outside my comfort zone. So that was a major takeaway and
yeah.
major accomplishment for me.
And if I think about that experience as well, it kind of made it more possible even like in your mind that, oh, I can reach out to podcasts and I can be a guest and I can talk about my business and my service and what I believe in, right?
Yeah, and it was just really validating too, like people getting back to me, just super interested in what I was doing and really intrigued by my story. And as someone who has worked very hard over the last 10 years, um, to have the experiences that I've had, to have that third party kind of validate uh, my story, and be intrigued by my experiences was also something that was very fulfilling for me.
Yeah. So from what I understand, you have a few leads in the pipeline now, and you have a system to generate more, which, you can scale, you can still test. You feel quite confident in what you have at the moment. How do you feel about the sales call? Are you ready to to communicate your message and your transformation to your leads and get them to a point where they can take action?
Yeah, I absolutely am. And I think that largely has to do, of course, with the work that we did. And it absolutely goes back to understanding who your ideal client is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, also, I worked on with you creating the program itself, right? So by creating a program, I can very clearly communicate what that program is because it's a tangible program, right?
Yes.
There aren't really any gray areas. It's like, okay, this is the program, this is what you will come out with, and this is how I can help you, right? And obviously it might be different on a case by case basis, but like the program itself is kind of uniform.
Yeah.
So that really helps me with these sales calls because I can so clearly communicate and speak to the program, very specifically. So
Yeah.
certainly that's been a major development for me as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
do feel very confident in my ability to communicate that now.
Mm-hmm. And the way that we worked on the program was very lean, like with speed, because we looked at what your leads and what people you had a few conversations with said, what the transformation they wanted was, and then like looked at some of the key points that you wanna uh, help them go through in order to gain that transformation. But then, like you said, it's still you have that clear structure, but at the same time you can test it and you can change it, you can upgrade it with clients. But it allows you to know what you're talking about, know what the transformation is, and at the same time, when you have a few clients, you don't have a lot of moving parts. It's kind of more standardized for you as well. So you have that confidence. It's also easier for you to manage, right?
And that standard is, I mean, the standardization, that is the biggest piece of it, because otherwise I think things can start to become unclear, and can possibly unravel. But when you have that structure, you have something that's standardized. Again, it just helps everything. Like everything falls into place with your communication, with your ability to help people. So that standardization was absolutely major.
Yeah, and you gain confidence every time, and it makes it better for everyone because instead of you build on your previous experience instead of starting from scratch. Yeah.
Totally, absolutely.
Okay, so if you want to add, if you want to add anything else, let me know. But I have one more question, which is, if
Sure.
someone is watching this and is looking at like your journey, and they're on the fence, they have an idea, or maybe they don't have an idea, but they want to start, they want to launch their own business online, but they've never worked with a coach, and they're like, well, I'm not sure, should they join? Why should they join? Anything that you can share with them in that situation?
Yeah. So what I will say is that, I come from a place of understanding, for those who are maybe afraid of diving into a program like this, right? Like, who knows what the situation is? Maybe it's they want to transition out of their full time job. Like maybe that's kind of scary, or maybe by starting a business, they're really putting themselves out there in like a vulnerable way. I totally get that. I totally get that feeling. But when you think about taking a chance like this, right? One thing I'll say is that, um, nothing is permanent, right? So by jumping into this kind of program, all you're doing is taking action, right? You're investing in
Mm.
yourself. You're trying something. You don't need to get caught in the weeds of like, oh, what does this mean on like a larger scale, right? You simply have an idea. You want to see it through, and you want structure and accountability, right? Like there are so many gurus out there. There are so many experts out there that are saying like this, that, and the other thing. But to have someone in your corner who can hold you accountable and sometimes just like kind of tell you what to do, like that to me is super valuable because it provides the most important thing, which I think is direction, right?
Mm.
So again, by making a decision like this, it doesn't need to be a major thing, right? It could just be something that you're looking to explore, and you want some guidance towards doing it. And the last thing I'll say, and I think this gets lost a lot of times, is that like it should be fun. Like I really think that gets lost sometimes because we tie business to money and we tie it to large, there's larger implications. But like if you enjoy creating and you enjoy building, it's a project, it's a creative project, and it should be fun, and you should expect to have fun. So if nothing else, if you're looking for a fun experience, there's absolutely a reason to take on a coach, and specifically Matt.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And yeah, I really like the point that you made. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on this
Yeah.
project. And also, I speak with a lot of people that have read so much, maybe listen to a lot of podcasts online, and the information is there, but maybe not the structure. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
too much information as well. So having that and the accountability, like you said, that makes a big difference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
No, I just want to say thank you. It was a really wonderful journey. I definitely plan on collaborating in the future for sure. I think that it was also, I probably should have mentioned this, but I think it was really a great way to spend my quarantine. It really gave me,
Yes.
it really gave me purpose. It gave me structure. It eliminated a lot of distractions and darkness. Yeah, I guess that's like another thing that I'll add is like, I mean, who knows how long we'll be in this period of uncertainty, but like if you can take on something like this as a way to give you that direction during tough times, like it's an amazing feeling for me to sit here now being like, wow, I spent the last 12 weeks during quarantine, when society was like seemingly melting around us, and was able to like produce this program. So to be able to come out of that with that is something that I'm grateful for, and I'm proud that I was able to do.
Yeah, you made a success out of a challenging situation.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, for sharing that. It's good for my
Yeah.
soul to hear. So that's good.
So at the time of my original testimonial with Matt, I had lined up a few sales calls, and had a few different leads. Since then, I locked down my first client, which I guess came a week or so ago. And then this unbelievable snowball effect, where I locked in, I have to count, 3 additional clients, and then I have 2 who are waiting in the wings, about to confirm, and then I have 2 others who are maybes as well. So in summation, since that testimonial, yeah, a lot has happened. So proof that when you take action with the help of a coach like Matt, good things happen. Peace.